Welcome back to the Born to Chat Shit podcast with your hosts, George and
Vix.
Today's episode, we are going to dive into a few dilemmas, struggles, problems that you guys face. So we thought about what we would do with these podcasts, and it's so easy to sit there and talk about bodybuilding and training and things like that, but we want to cover everything, you know, we want to cover...
No, you're doing well. We basically want to cover different avenues when it comes to the podcast. We want to get you guys involved, asking questions, being able to almost like open up to like a big sister or a big brother, because I feel like this is where our strengths are at as people. Like we're good at listening, we're good at giving advice, because we have both not lived the most perfect lives. We have both made a lot of mistakes and we've had a lot of struggles, and we are very open about talking through these struggles. Like I don't have any holding back. I'm quite an oversharer, which is something I actually need to change about myself, but we wanted to get you guys involved. We obviously want to provide the educational style podcast like you saw in the last episode, and also just like catch-ups with us too, so you get a little bit of everything through here. So in today's podcast, we are actually inviting you guys to ask us, or actually tell us your dilemmas, and we will give you our feedback on it.
Yeah, it's kind of like mummy and daddy give you advice on life and how to succeed in bodybuilding. So
be a gym mum and dad.
Yeah, gym mum and dad. We'll call it like a gym mum and dad episode, where we answer all your questions and help you guys reach the peak in your journey. So without further ado, I don't know if that's the right term. Without further ado. Don't know why I've said that many a times. Thanks, Vicky, for saying she saved me at the beginning part of that podcast, to be honest with you, because I was going to start again, but she did very well there. So shout out Vix in the comments of this. So we're actually going to start off with just going through the questions. Mm-hmm. So first one is just the thoughts of never feeling like you're good enough. And
that's a good one to start off with. I was going to say questions, not question. It's a good point to start off with, because we've had a few like this.
Yeah, we have.
So just not feeling good enough. Do you want to start with this one?
I think you should start, because you're much better at that sort of thing than what I am.
The question is, you've got to ask yourself, like, what is it that makes you not feel good enough? Like, why do you have this deep, intricate thought of, I am not enough, or I am, again, like not good enough to be of the standards that I set for myself? Because very often, and I know I don't want to dive too deep into it, but I probably well know me, it stems down from things that have happened in your childhood. Very often people with very low self-esteem have had some sort of traumatic upbringing, and I don't even mean trauma that's like very, very apparent to some people. Like some people think they need to go through physical abuse to encounter trauma, but trauma can be even in the forms of your parents just didn't give you affection in the way that maybe you needed as a child. Maybe they were quite reserved with their own emotions, etc., and maybe you needed to have like attention-seeking behaviors as a child for them to actually be open with you and have like a conversation with you. I know I had a friend that would really like lash out in school, but it was literally because her parents were so busy with work, they actually didn't give her much attention, so she would, you know, be naughty, etc. And she actually went on to just being a very actually self-conscious person when I do speak to her about certain things like this. So first of all, actually addressing, where does this stem from for you? For you?
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah,
Knew I was going to stutter. Where does this stem from? And addressing those root causes, because when you do that deep internal healing, most likely you are going to feel slightly better. And then the second thing that I would just say is, the thoughts of not feeling good enough can very often be linked to the imposter syndrome, which we've spoken about before. Mm-hmm. And I have conversations about imposter syndrome with my girls all the time. Like, oh, I don't feel good enough to go into this gym. I don't feel good enough to take up this job. I don't feel good enough to go into this interview. But I always say that that's actually a really good thing. So there's one aspect of not feeling good enough and going into self-destruction mode and going into self-sabotage mode and going for like dopamine inducing behaviors, and this is where like addiction comes in with not feeling good enough. And then there's not feeling good enough by diving into things where potentially they actually might make you grow. So starting a bodybuilding prep and not feeling maybe good enough or ready enough to do that, I always say, fucking go for it. Like, go for it. You're stepping outside of your comfort zone. This is where you're going to grow. But there's two different types if you're sort of getting where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, what I've said so far?
I think the big one for me is the root cause. Like, a lot of people think in the now, but I think a lot of people's issues are actually from the past. Mm-hmm. For example, like me, like when I used to play a lot of football when I was younger, if I scored a hat-trick and I missed an open goal, I wouldn't care about the fucking hat-trick. I'd worry about the open goal, and I feel like I'd disappoint and let everyone down around me because of that. And I've experienced about what you said about like your parents and your family. Like for me, I never really had an affectionate family towards me, especially my dad. My dad was very much quite a straight person in the sense that he would tell me what I'm doing wrong, but I never really hear about the things that I was doing right. So a lot of my issues that I felt like when I was growing up being not good enough was I would just hear about the things that I wasn't good at, or for example, like if I missed an open goal, you know, I'd hear about that, but not necessarily hear about maybe the amazing free kick that I scored, for example. And once you start sort of tangling that, and it took me fucking 20 plus years to actually untangle that and figure out that was an issue, you can then actually start to work on yourself. So yeah, just go back to the drawing board. I've not really got much else to say about that. I think from my experience, I felt like I've been not good enough, and even when I first competed, it was like, am I ever going to be good enough? And I just sort of bit the bullet in the sense that I just went, you know what, like you said, dive into the deep end, look at it as a new challenge. And now I've got to a point, and you can overcome these things, because now I've got to a point where I'm happy with however I look, however I feel. I'm content with that. You know, I used to really struggle even in my off seasons, feeling like fucking hell, like I'm not good enough here to.
The majority of the time. Because there are still going to be times where you have those thoughts creeping back up, because when you've had these issues previously, they are going to come back up. And I think sometimes when they do, so say for example you're going through an off season after just saying to the camera like, oh, I don't have this issue anymore, and you have this issue, it almost feels like you've regressed, but it's completely normal. But how you navigate your thoughts is what matters. And I think feeling a sort of way of, example here, not feeling good enough is in most cases completely valid, but then it's sort of like, what do you do with that, and how do you reframe your thoughts into making it something more positive rather than being self-destructive, actually making it something for you to grow? Because the feelings of not feeling good enough very closely linked to as well the fear of failure. And I think this is where this conversation can sort of drift off. I know for myself, like going back to my childhood, and I won't go into too much detail because most likely, you know, I'm going to start crying about certain things. But I always sort of like felt the need to perform really, really well to get sort of like approval. And my parents have always told me that they're proud of me. Maybe like my mum definitely more so. My dad at a certain point where I was becoming a teenager, he would say things to my mum, and then my mum would say things to me, but I wanted to hear it from my dad. But I know my dad had that, like very much like you do, that emotional barrier where he couldn't quite connect with me. And I never had that from sort of him, unless I would do something really, really well, and he would like post about it on Facebook, and I would have this association that if I do really, really, really well, I'm going to get sort of praised. And that created like a subconscious unhealthy habit within me that I felt like my bar always has to be here, because if I don't reach this bar, it means I failed. So it would either be like this all or nothing mentality, and then I would get so scared of failure because I thought failure was something that was really bad. I thought that if I didn't get an A star, that would be like really, really, really bad, because I wouldn't get a post on Facebook, as stupid as it sounds. Whereas now what I'm realizing is that I don't get as scared of not feeling good enough, because I know even if I fail, that teaches me a lesson to improve in the future. So I think those two things are very linked. But just to summarize, dive deep into the true, real reasons why. The second thing is, never allow anything external to validate your feelings. So on social media, don't post things for that external validation. Like when I look at my comments, and I don't really look at my comments anymore, because it's not just a matter of I don't want to see negative comments, but I also don't want to see good comments. And I know that sounds really stupid, but I don't, as much as I am grateful for people being like, you look amazing, I'm so thankful, but I don't really want to be seeing that, because I don't want that to internally validate me. So don't validate yourself externally. And if you feel like you're going into bodybuilding and diving into a prep, and that lead into a form of validation that it's probably not right for you at this current point in time, address the root issues of it. And then reframe your thoughts. Instead of you telling yourself you're not good enough, actually praise yourself for what you are rather than what you are not. Tell yourself your strengths rather than telling yourself all your weaknesses. So literally for every one bad thing, like I always say to you, tell yourself 3 good things. And then understand as well that you feeling like maybe you don't belong use that as a form of not negative comparisons to beat yourself down, but as a form of like, right, I'm in a room of people better than me, therefore if they can do it, I can do it too.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think what you said important about like talking to yourself. If you tell yourself you're not good enough, you're probably not going to be good enough. If you tell yourself you are good enough, you're probably going to be good enough. That's the big thing that I've actually worked upon. You're telling myself that I'm worthy, I am good enough, and you kind of almost got like train your mind, to do that sort of thing, because the amount of times, like in the past, I've been, and still am now, I'm quite a negative person. Like I think to myself in situations, would I like to be, if I spoke the things that I said to myself in my head, would I like to be around like people like that? And the answer is no. And would people want to be around me, hearing the things that I say to myself in my head? Absolutely not. So when you sort of really think about it, like talk to yourself nicely, and you're going to love yourself more. And you know, I think sometimes, like even when I actually really deep it, like there are people out there that are actually fucking completely clueless and like in their own little bubble in their own mind, but they're some of the happiest people ever.
Sam Sulik is such a great example of this.
Oh yeah.
Like he just loves what he does. He gets so much negative stick recently, even on social media. I don't know who that guy was, but he was like, he is a disgrace to bodybuilding. I understand where he was coming from because of like his nutrition, etc. He's maybe not setting the best example when it comes to that, but he just like noise out, cracks on, does what he does. Like he doesn't set huge expectations of himself, but he also doesn't beat himself to the ground. Like he's just in his own little bubble.
Do you think Sam sits there and says to himself he's not good enough?
I reckon everyone has thoughts of doing that, to be honest with you, but I think he just navigates it really well.
Yeah, I don't think he takes any action on that.
Because I think another thing actually of you talking to yourself like this, you were really, and I noticed this at the start of our relationship. I was like, this guy speaks to himself like shit. But you said to me, like, I like speaking to myself like shit because it drives a fire within me.
Yeah.
And I think genuinely that is the biggest bullshit ever.
Yeah, I thought it did, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't. I think it drove you into self-sabotage. That's all it did.
I used to call myself a little cunt all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I would say it out loud as well.
And I noticed that in you, and I was just like, do you know what? My dad used to do that. My dad is quite like a negative motivator. So when he used to train, and he used to obviously be a professional sportsman, he used to like be quite negative about things. For quite some time he actually changed his approach as an athlete. He then did like the silver manifestation, so he used to like listen to manifestation of like, I am great, I am amazing, and then that actually, sorry, I know I'm going on a tangent, but it reminds me, he did the silver manifestation or meditations. He would listen to that, and that is the only thing that changed in his training from one fight compared to another, or like one season compared to another. And in that second season, because of the way that he was speaking, how positively he was speaking to himself, he didn't lose a single fight.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it does matter then.
Yeah, and
sure.
he was a big believer in the fact that how you speak to yourself is how you perform.
Yeah.
And I agree with it, because I don't believe in like manifestation in terms of, oh my God, I'm going to get £100 in my bank account in the next hour and it happens. But I believe in manifestation in terms of how you speak about yourself and how you speak into the existence will dictate your actions.
I agree. So yeah, that was a good one. Thank you very much. What do you think is the biggest problem in bodybuilding? MK List thinks body dysmorphia is getting worse. What do you think is the worst? I think, especially in the little bubble that I'm in, it's more of the all or nothing mentality that's getting worse in bodybuilding.
I was gonna say that.
Is it? Yeah. I think if I fixate on like the people that I follow in the industry and the sort of like the JP style lifting and this all or nothing, I think it's getting worse. I feel like so many people are dying to compete now. Like when I first competed in 2019, like if you went to a natural show, UKDFBA show, there were like 2 or 3 people in your class, absolute max. Now you go there and it's fucking like they're doing 2 days events now because there's so many people that compete. So the urge for people to compete, even at ridiculous young ages as well, absolutely blows my mind now. It's like, what, that guy who's 13 like competing, you know, it's kind of like, what, we're going to get a 12-year-old next year and we're going to get a fucking 10-year-old the year after that. It's like this urge of like, well, I'm going to go all in. Like when I was 13, I wasn't even bodybuilding. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go to the gym at that age or think about your physique goals or whatever, but I didn't think about, like, I was just having fun and playing with my mates in the field and kicking a football about and learning how to, you know, experience life whilst being out for certain periods of time on my bike and grown up in that. So it's just so different now. Like, you know, you see even like the junior classes or the teen classes, they're massive. Like, these people have been training for 2 years and they're diving into the deep end of something which is on paper doesn't look serious, but can potentially be very, very serious long term. So yeah, for me, the big one is this all or nothing mentality. People are willing to cut off relationships, and you may not obviously see that aspect of things because, to be honest, nobody really talks about that side of things. No one's going to go, I've broken up with my girlfriend online, really, but I've coached many people that are wanting or willing to do those sort of things, willing to sacrifice their mental health, willing to sacrifice their eating disorder or habits, addictive behaviors as well. You know, I've seen people like willing to do it all just to get a fucking plastic trophy at the end of it. That, to be honest with you, I'm looking at my trophies right now that sat there from 2022.
Collecting dust.
And my PCA trophy last year. My 2019 trophies are in the loft at my parents' house. So I haven't seen them in about 4 or 5 years, to be honest with you. And it's just like, for what? You know? That's what I sometimes see people do. And these people, like, don't get me wrong, like, I make a living in the fitness industry. I very much enjoy competing. And in fact, competing actually complements my business quite well, to be honest with you. However, there are a lot of people that only compete, well, only bodybuild. It's a hobby at the end of the day. They don't make money from it. They're not fucking aiming for Mr. Olympia, and they're willing to do whatever it takes. It blows my mind. So for me, the big one that I see a lot recently is this all or nothing mentality, all or nothing. And
if you don't want it bad, it means you're a shit athlete. If you're not willing to do whatever it takes, it means you're a shit athlete. If you have a weekend off plan, it means you're a shit athlete. Like, don't get me wrong, if you're planning to reach extremes within whatever it is, and I'm not just saying bodybuilding, but whether it's a certain career, there are going to be certain sacrifices, but it is completely down to you which sacrifices that you make, because every single person is completely different. Like, if someone told me I need to, like, stop speaking to you so I can get, I don't know, the top of my, I don't know, become a CEO of something, I probably wouldn't take, because my values are very highly based on family. But, you know, some people may take that because they don't care. So we're not here to say what's right and what's wrong. But I think it can be quite toxic to people because they think stepping into bodybuilding, which should be fun, which should be a hobby for a lot of people, like George said, they almost feel like they can't have fun with it because it's sort of like you either sacrifice things or your shit.
Yeah, you can't spend time with your missus, and the missus is getting pissed off with you because you're so fixated on this end goal. Don't get me wrong, there's an element of sacrifice that you go through throughout a prep. There's an element of like very much selfishness that you need to prioritize: sleep, recovery, your training, your nutrition. But there are many other ways that you can have a good balance with what you are doing. It probably ties in with the next question, so I'm going to save that part for the next question that we've got, which is surrounding socializing or social life and bodybuilding as well. But yeah, the big one is that all or nothing mentality.
All or nothing. Body dysmorphia is definitely a big one. But then the question is, are people with body dysmorphia going into bodybuilding? Or is it the other way around? I think it's potentially people with body dysmorphia going into bodybuilding because they think it'll make them feel better, and then jumping into this like loop, because of course when you go into extremities and you see your body in extremities, that does play a role in your psychology surrounding your relationship. I think another huge one is performance enhancing drugs. I think that is becoming increasingly worrying for me, because when I entered bodybuilding, even a couple like in 2020, I remember like PEDs, they were obviously apparent, but I don't think they were utilised as much as they are now, especially in female bodybuilding.
Oh yeah.
I feel like it was still, like, natural bodybuilding was way more of a scene than what I feel like it is now. Yeah, 100% for females anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like now the standards are set, and to be honest with you, it comes with the evolution of bodybuilding. Like bikini or even wellness 5 years ago is not what wellness is right now. Like getting a pro card in wellness 5 years ago, even like in 2022, was probably, I'm not going to say it's easy because obviously you need genetics, you need hard work for it, but the standards are definitely so much more different to what it is now. Even bikini, like pro bikini, men's physique. But bikini, like that's why they had to introduce the fit model division, because the standards are just so high, and they most likely will require some form of assistance further down the line, especially to be competitive in the pro ranks. So I think that's something that's becoming increasingly worrying for me from an educational standpoint, because people are just, especially females, no, actually males as well, because we've had messages in our DMs of, oh, I'm running this cycle, and we're like, what? You know, it's even though the education is out there, there's amazing portals, you know, SN Education I'm a part of. There's amazing resources out there, really good coaches as well. But for some reason, there's still huge gaps within the coaching industry where people who might have done like a cycle themselves go on to becoming a coach. They'll, like, I even recently saw someone post on their story actually, which was concerning, like, oh, educate your clients about PEDs. And it was like a message maybe they sent to them, and they said female dosage of Anavar is from X to Y, and that was completely off.
Yeah.
Like, I read that, and they're talking about educating their clients, and then they're putting this on their story, and they're putting information out there that's actually completely inaccurate.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's worrying for me. That there's actually that leads on to the next one. And
I think we're thinking the same thing.
People educating.
Yeah. You go ahead with that. I think my big one is people educating people based upon like even the mistakes that they've made, and now they think they can educate people surrounding it.
That's I think that's all right-ish.
I don't think so.
No,
I don't.
But no, because I've made mistakes. For example, in my journey in terms of bodybuilding, I've taken that on, and I can educate people. So I don't know. But
I think when it comes surrounding when it comes to PEDs, I think it's a little bit different, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I guess for me, like, and this is I ranted about this on my story. This isn't by no means coming at anyone, because I think anyone that wants to go out there and educate clearly does have a level of care, and I love that. I love that people are going and they're educating themselves more and they want to spread a message. But I think with certain very intricate subjects, especially if it is surrounding female health or it is surrounding certain topics like PEDs, I think people learn, or they see something, they snapshot like ChatGPT into their head, and they put that information, where in reality it's so much more complex than that. Mm-hmm. And they're starting to become specialists within certain like subjects, and I'm
PCOS.
Just thinking we're not
PCOS and fucking, I don't know, other shit that we see nowadays.
I've seen it all the time. Like I had people send me a profile of a guy saying, I want to take, like, 3 people who are willing to take their first cycle, and then he puts it, and then he put into someone said, are you promoting like gear use when it can't be done safely? And he says, if it's done in the right way, it can be done safely. I'm like, no, it can't. So what I'm trying to say is, like, it worries me about how many people are now, I think for business purposes, they're putting out these educational content, and I think in certain cases there are amazing coaches out there that I'm listening, I'm learning from them as well, you know. Like, I learn massively from Dean when he puts things out. It's amazing, but also there's so much misinformation out there, and because the information's so easily accessible now, this is where bodybuilding is starting to become very worrying.
Yes.
For me anyway.
Yeah.
And this is not a bitchy way of saying things, it's just like, just be careful who you consume content from. And understand that as well, people make mistakes and people do have human error. So even if they're posting something, there might be a typo that might completely change the trajectory of things. Like, you know, when I worked in hospital and we used to prescribe, we'd write a prescription that needed to be checked through a pharmacist before he got actually given to a patient, because if you mess up a certain word, it can completely change the medication that you give.
Interesting.
Yeah, or even dosages, you know. There was an incident where someone, instead of putting like a 0.1, they put like or 0.01, they put like a 0.1, and it killed the patient. So
really?
Yeah, so things like this matter, and it's a tiny human error, but it can really impact your life.
Yeah. Happy with that question?
Yes.
Yes. Next one, what we said about balancing bodybuilding as a casual and social life. Love from Portugal.
Oh, shout out Portugal.
Yeah, so
we need to go.
Yeah, I've been to Portugal once. Everyone looked like Ronaldo when I went there. Everyone had a Ronaldo haircut. I went to a water park actually, and you know, all like the young lads like in their sliders or flip flops at the time, all like ready to like tell you to go down the slide and stuff like that. All of them looked like Ronaldo. All of them had a Ronaldo haircut. It's absolutely mental. So I don't know whether it's changed now. That was like 2010 maybe.
Probably not.
So yeah, big up Portugal. So yeah, keeping sort of a balance of social activities and sort of balancing bodybuilding. Where would you start on that one?
Know your goals and know your values.
Yeah, 100%.
And have a coach that is aligned with your values.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to do it. Like for me, I used to be, again, a very all or nothing person. So I was either all on plan or I was all off plan. Whereas now for example, went away for our anniversary, which, by the way, guys, we've been together for 3 years now.
3
How
years.
cute.
Woo, woo, woo.
Feels like 30. But yeah, we went away for a couple of days. We went off plan for what, three days?
Yeah, 3 days, yeah.
The way that we usually manage it is like the first 3 meals we'll have on plan. We'll make sure we hit our protein, and then we'll go off plan, and then the next day we'll wake up like nothing's happened, just crack on with our routine because we absolutely love it. And I think the key here as well is like, make sure your bodybuilding life is something that you enjoy, because when you enjoy it, you won't need to feel like you need to escape out of it to have that social balance. When it comes to like planning things, if you're someone that really likes your meal plan and maybe you don't have the best relationship with food when you go off plan, you go into like more binging patterns, of course, always address the root cause of it. I feel like that's going to be my motto. I'm going to get that tattooed on my forehead. But address the root cause while you're binging. But also, like, if it's something that might trigger you right now, suggest to your friends, suggest to your family to do something different. Not everything needs to involve food. You can go mini golf, you can go go-karting, you can go swimming, you can go...
Play badminton.
Thank you. People are going to listen to this podcast like, why is there a pause there? Checking their phone, like, are they still playing? You could do plenty of other things. So understand that social life does not need to make you step back from your goals by any means.
Yeah, I think the big one for me is that I've been to places and I've brought my meal prep with me, no problems at all. And actually, funny enough, like, I've been at a restaurant and actually people are like, oh, why are you eating your meal prep for? Why are you not eating what we're eating? And actually people are actually quite interested by it, and they actually are quite supportive. Sometimes I thought, they're going to turn their nose up, like, oh, you're being a dickhead, why are you not eating this? But actually some people were actually really supportive from it. And one thing
I've never had an issue.
I've never had an issue, no. We've never had issues when it comes to that. And to be honest with you, I don't give a fuck about any of what anyone else says. One other thing that I would say is, like, communicate to the people around you what you are going through. I say this a lot to my clients, actually. Zach, I don't know if he's going to be listening to this, but he has a lot of friends that do go out and do socialise and do things which aren't bodybuilding necessarily related. But I told him, like, communicate to your friends, like, this is what you are doing. These are my goals this year, and this is what I'm trying to achieve. He's on prep, by the way. And I've always said, like, if they're your real mates, they're going to support you.
Yeah.
If they're not, if they're going to turn, like, for example, when I first started YouTube, a lot of my friends, when I left school, turned their nose up at it. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Or why are you filming yourself? Blah, blah. Took the piss out of me, basically. And I thought about it, and I was like, they're not actually my friends. They're not actually my friends. If they're not going to support me with my goals and what I want to do, I don't want to be around that. That wasn't my friend. So sometimes you actually find, in these situations, people's true colours. I'm going off on one here. It's more about balancing bodybuilding and social occasion. But you actually find out what people's true colours are, and that's where I actually cut all those people off. And I've not spoken to those people in about 10 years, to be honest with you. And I'm fine with that. I'm actually really cool with that, because at the end of the day, like, they're not my people. I want someone to go, actually, you stick to this and you do what you need to do.
And then you attract people that will actually support that by being in line with your goals and values. And actually saying that, I've got a client as well, shout out Grace, who is a social buddy. She always likes to go out. She's got a lot of friends that go out as well. And she did her first, like, sober night out a couple of weeks ago. Because obviously when you go out, you typically you just get smashed, but she was like, no, I'm gonna go and have a sober night out. Checked in the following Monday, she was like, I just had the best night ever. She was like, I had a really, really good night. And she stayed on plan, obviously. She went out with her friends as well, but she didn't do the things that weren't in line with her values. That's not to say, like, if you're someone that likes to drink alcohol and wants to go out every night now and then, fair enough, like, that's your thing, like, do it. But she didn't want to, but she felt like she had to. Almost, but she didn't. She felt great for it.
Yeah, it doesn't need to always evolve around drink and fucking food like most people think. Another aspect as well is you deep it to the other end of the spectrum. Like, if you go out once a month or even once a week and the rest of the week you're on plan, like, when you actually really take a step back and deep it ain't that bad. Like, you're on plan 95% of the time. You know, if you think about, you have 5 meals every single day, you do that for a week, what's 5 times 7? 35. And you have 1 meal out or 1 meal off, That's 34 meals out of 35 which are on plan. That's really fucking good. That's so good, in fact. So when you actually really deep it, like, it ain't that deep. It ain't that deep sometimes.
Obviously, it's a little bit different if you're on prep. Let's highlight that, because our
prep,
clients that are on prep listening to this, you dare.
On prep is completely different. There's no way in hell you're going to be doing, like, I want anyone to be doing that unless they obviously really had to and we had to sort of work around it. But for the average person listening to this, like, don't get tied in. Again, to go back to what we said before about, oh, you're not good enough, you're shit, you're this and that. You really ain't. In fact, you're way better than 99% of the people on this fucking planet. Because 99% of the people on the planet can barely follow a plan, can barely not give in to temptations, can barely, like, you go around the supermarket. This is one task that one thing that I want you to do when you're next in the supermarket. Go around and look at what other people are putting in their trolleys.
You're so nosy.
Go, honestly, just go and look at 5 people that put in fucking frozen shit, frozen stuff into, or just processed, like, pre-made fucking chili con carne and curry, like, fucking shit food.
I don't sweat.
Sorry, it's true though. Like, go and look at people's trolleys. That is, you telling me you having 1 meal plan is the end of the world when they're filling up their trolleys like that. Okay, yeah, they may not care about it, but at the end of the day, like, it ain't that deep. It really ain't that deep. So, yeah, and if that is the case, you know, if you are wanting to do those sort of things, then there's an element of, okay, cool, I might need to do a little bit more expenditure throughout the week. I might need to eat a little less food. It might be able to give me that flexibility to go out. I might need to go and do a bit more cardio or whatever, or I might need to play catch up the next following day. So, you know, you might go, okay, cool, this is what I did on a Saturday. Sunday, I might increase my steps, introduce a little bit more cardio.
In certain cases.
Or decrease my food, in certain cases, depending on what's what.
Well, yeah, what your relationship's like.
Yeah, what your relationship's like. But there's no harm in doing that either if your relationship is good with that aspect of things. Anything else you want to add to that?
No, that's perfect.
I thought that was really good. So thank you for that question. This one made me laugh. So much washing up from meal prep. Feels, honestly.
So, well, this is how you go about this, right? You go on Instagram, you scroll through Instagram, see if you fancy someone on there. If you do, give them a follow, and then get them to message you, and then date them for 3 years, and they'll do your washing for you.
Oh, I love washing up.
The reason why I say that is because I don't do any washing up.
No, you don't. See, we have a dishwasher. Never use it.
George loves washing up.
Oh.
And but when I lived alone, I was so good at it. Like, I like a clean house. By the way, I'm not like a...
She's not lazy.
I'm not lazy. Just George enjoys it. And that's how we split the jobs. You like the washing. I'll do like the...
You do the washing of the clothes.
Yeah, exactly.
You enjoy doing that. I don't like enjoying
that. Yeah, it is a lot. If it's too much for you, dishwasher's always a good answer. Like, there was some point where I was so busy with uni, that's why I got the dishwasher, because I just could not catch up. And then the other thing is, like, be efficient with how you cook. So a lot of people, especially if they're online coaches, they will cook each meal as it comes. We don't do that. We cook everything at once. So we'll batch cook our rice for the day, like for both of us, and then we'll put into separate Tupperwares. Also, keep your meals, like, if you don't mind, again, if you like variability, don't listen to this tip, but if you're someone that is just focused on convenience, hitting your macros and getting the job done without as much washing, stick to like the same food sources. Don't cook potatoes and then rice and then bagels and then this that requires 10 million piles of Tupperware, and just literally just have 3-4
another little secret one as I'm thinking about it. Use like paper plates that you can just throw away, plastic forks and stuff like that.
Come on now.
I know environment and stuff like that, but look, if you're that bothered about it, like, I've watched loads of YouTubers and they just eat off like the paper plates and they just throw it in the bin afterwards. I'm like, sound, no worries at all about that. So
yeah, but to be honest with you, there's no way of going around that.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just washing.
Oh yeah, that's true. Advice for someone thinking about possibly competing in the future: anxiety and what class? That's a big one. When is it? Struggles of when to know when to compete.
Oh, probably not the right person to ask.
Yeah, I think
probably not the right, because again, it stems down to me just not setting my bar really high, not feeling good enough. And George always reminds me, there's 2 aspects to this. The stage is always there, and as long as you love the process, that is like the main thing to focus on. But the other aspect of it is, you'll never feel ready. Like, you'll never feel 100% there. And we spoke about this in a previous podcast, because there's always improvement when it comes to bodybuilding. That's why we love it. That's what's amazing about it. You're going to step up on stage, you're going to get improvements. The top Olympians have that. They get on stage, they have their feedback from the judges, they always have improvement. So I think when you have that anxiety surrounding like, oh, am I going to be ready? Am I going to be not going to be ready? Have a coach that you trust first and foremost, because that is going to guide you way further with very little anxiety. Like I'm prepping a girl right now. She is a couple of weeks out now, to be honest with you. She's getting close to a show. And she had this like little wobble of thinking, am I going to be ready? And I was just like, look, I will not put you up on stage, because at the end of the day, you're presenting yourself as an athlete, yes, but you're also representing, like I'm representing myself as a coach in my work. And I give her the reassurance. I screw her head back on. We have a really good relationship where she tells me absolutely anything that's sort of happening. Same with all of the girls actually. And then she's like, okay, thank you for the reassurance. I'm going to crack on and get done with it now. So it's very much like that. Like you have a coach that you trust and can guide you through that, because a coach that has your best interests at heart, that truly cares about you as a person and as an athlete, will not get you stepping up on stage prematurely, where you're going to screw yourself over long term within bodybuilding. Because there's a lot of people that train for a month and want to step up on stage, and I will very respectfully say, and I've had this recently, I will not prep you this year, but I will prep you next year. You know, you've got to have someone that's very honest with you when it comes to that.
I think a big one for me is that your first time competing and knowing if you're good enough, the goal of your first season is to not be perfect. Like, it's not about being perfect and winning loads of trophies and getting overalls and winning world championships. It ain't about that, to be honest with you. For me, the first year of competing for anyone is just dabbling into whether you actually enjoy that aspect of things or not, whether you can push yourself physically and mentally. And it's all about actually seeing what needs to improve and where you can build upon from there. Like, your first preps are never going to be perfect. Like, trust me, my 2019 prep, I over dieted. I did more than what I should. I was pushing my body to the absolute limits, and I look back now and thought, why the fuck did I do that? That wasn't a smart idea. But it made me learn. It made me actually realize that, you know what, I didn't need to push that far to bring the best physique. I didn't need to do as much cardio. Like 2022, I didn't do any cardio, and this last prep, I didn't do any cardio. So I didn't need a cardio like I was doing Stairmaster 6-7 days a week last time. So try and actually prevent this all or nothing like mentality going into these preps, because the first year is not about that. The first year is all about just enjoying it and challenging yourself in a different way and finding out actually what you need to improve on for future references, where you need to improve on your physique, you know, and you'll get so much motivation and drive from doing that. Like, you should be coming out of these preps and actually realizing that you either love it or you don't love it, and that's fine. So yeah, I sometimes see people like, when is it time to compete? And it's like, just enjoy it, just have a smile on your face, because it is such like a very 8 months, 6 months, however long you prep for, it sounds like a very long time, but trust me, when you're in that bubble, it goes so fucking quickly, and you look back and you think, where the fuck has the time gone? And the one thing that you forgot to do was have a smile on your face every single day, because you know what, you enjoyed the process, you enjoyed the lifestyle, you enjoyed what it brought, it challenged you in a different way. The focus that you had was the best focus that you've probably ever had in your life. And it goes by so quickly, and you don't appreciate actually what these moments bring for you. So that's my words of advice. And if you're debating competing, just do it. Just do it. Find out where you are. If you come dead last, okay, cool, you know you need to improve, or you need to do this, or you need to do that.
Or do a photo shoot prep.
Yeah, I'll do a photo shoot prep.
Do a photo shoot prep, because you're going to be able to go through the process of what prep is, but it's not going to be as big of maybe like a not necessarily a challenge, but it's not going to be as stressful. Like, you're not going to think, oh my god, it's going to end up with me stepping up on stage in front of loads of hundreds of people. It's just a little bit less pressure. But also, I've had many people that have started a photo shoot prep, but it ended up in an actual prep.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, actually, I love this. I'm feeling really good and I'm feeling really lean. So can we actually just continue this and go on stage?
Yeah.
And then the answer is yes. So that's how I would go about it. Book yourself in for a shoot, start dieting for a shoot, treat it like a prep, no beats missed. And then if you get to the shoot, you're happy and you want to carry on getting leaner, then you can get leaner, step up on stage, voila.
Interesting. Good one. I rate that one. Appetite, those late night cravings are tough. Interesting.
relate. I can't relate. My appetite is so bad.
Yeah, God.
My appetite.
Oh yeah,
okay.
cooking before going to bed. Oh, fucking slaps.
I think first of all, understand that craving is a feeling that doesn't need to be acted upon.
Yeah.
And the more you engage that feeling, the more you're going to think about it, the more likely you're going to act upon it. The same goes with, feeling anger or feeling sadness or feeling happiness. The more you engage a feeling, the more you're going to be likely to act upon it, because the way that our brain works, a true feeling can only be felt for a couple of seconds unless we start thinking about it or thinking about certain things relating to it. So when it comes to a craving, obviously you can't think, oh, don't think about it, because it's like saying don't think about the blue elephant in the room. You start thinking about a blue elephant. But what you can do is occupy your mind. A lot of the times cravings come from boredom. They do. I used to be one of those people. I used to be bored and I used to be like, I'm going to eat then.
Yeah, rest days.
Yeah, rest days. I'm
Rest
bored.
days are the
I'm going
worst.
to eat then.
Count down the clock.
Occupy your time. I remember in prep, I started creating a project of like, I would do up a room in the house. Like really weird. Like, oh, I'll buy something to put together from like IKEA. And then I used to do that. But I used to get so much enjoyment out of it. So have like a little project that you work on. So this is for like primary people in a diet or a prep. Do something that your mind can literally focus on, so you stop thinking about the food. And then the other thing is as well, like understand, like I said, you don't need to act based upon how you feel. Like if George annoys me and I'm fuming at him and I want to punch him in the head, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to get in trouble with the police, The same.
Police? Fucking hell, why are you punching me then?
Hard, I've got loads of frustrations. No, I'm joking. But what I'm saying is you don't need to act upon that feeling you won't act upon that feeling because you don't want to deal with the consequences. The same goes for like a craving. The other tip for that as well is spread your meals out and make your meals enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. I think on top of those things that you've said, I've got two myself. One, I would, if you find your appetite is those cravings at night time are tough, I would change your routine. I would change the routine that you have in the evening time, to be honest, to something different that's gonna, again, very similar to what you said about keeping your mind occupied. I guess it's sort of same,
Yeah, change your routine.
And my second point is actually like your perspective of obviously your cravings and appetite being high. Like, who says that's a bad thing? I look at it as a good thing. I'm like, in my preps, when I'm starving hungry, I'm like, it's fucking working then. I'm getting lean. If my body's signaling to me, I'm hungry, you need to eat.
Yeah.
You damn well know I'm going to be getting a new low over the next couple of days, because your body's smart like that. I don't know the science and what happens between your brain, and you know more about that than me. But if your body's telling you you're hungry, I can look at that as two ways: a bad thing, shit, I'm starving, or two, right, because I'm fucking digging and I'm getting to where I want to be, so it's working. So I look at it like that when I'm dieting. I'm like, fuck you, I'm going to beat you.
No, it's true, because at the end of the day, especially if you're in a deficit, I'll talk about actually if you're in an off season, you're finding cravings, because that can happen as well. But if you're in a diet or reversing out of a diet or a prep and you're getting these cravings, just understand that it's your body's way of like telling you ultimately to survive in some way. Or hunger is anyway. Cravings are a little bit different, but hunger is. If you're hungry / craving and you're in a prep, like George says, it's literally your body physiologically telling you, I am in a deficit, which is where you're meant to be. So if anything, that's probably a good sign. I think if you're craving in an off season, I know these things probably aren't like tips per se. If you're craving a particular thing, I would look into potentially whether you've got any deficiencies or whether you're taking supplements. I know that sounds really stupid, but there is, for example, conditions that make you, for example, want to eat soil or dirt because you're craving a particular, you're having a particular deficiency, which is making you want those sort of things. So it very well may be a certain deficiency. The other thing that, like, more medically speaking, this, by the way, now, this is not strategic, this is more medical speaking. The other thing as well is blood glucose. If you're in an off season, you're getting cravings, it might be to do with your blood glucose plummeting and going down and going up all the time. Because when sugars are really low, you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm going to really, really, really want this food. So just making sure your food sources are actually releasing carbohydrates a little bit slower and more steady state. That's something that's going to be important to consider. And then also making sure, like I said, spreading meals out and your meals are satiating and your meals are actually nice to eat. Don't go for chicken and rice for breakfast, lunch and dinner if you're craving something sweet. Go for oats. Go for something like cream of rice. Have an oat cookie. You can literally cook an oat cookie. Like, that'll be really good. That might suffice like your cookie cravings. And then sometimes if you're in a position to eat that bloody cookie from time to time.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? Like, if you're in an off season and you really fancy a cookie, you've been fancying a cookie for a while, it's better to moderately eat that cookie, reduce your calories from elsewhere, as long as you can control yourself. Again, there's no unhealthy relationship with food going on there, and then crack on with your day like you usually would, because sometimes we're allowed to, you know, it's not a forbidden fruit, and the more you think it's a forbidden fruit, the more you're going to want it.
Yeah, actually, that's a good one, actually. For me as well, like, make effort with your food is a big one. Like, not the people that post their food or their meal on Instagram story, look at that, that's a bag of shit. Like, your oats, your protein oats, but your oats are still raw and still need to spend another 10 minutes in the microwave, you know? You've got your plastic bowl and you've put in your fucking microwave rice and you've just plopped in like ready-made chicken and you've mixed it all in. It looks like a bag of shit. No wonder you're starving, hungry, you know? So sometimes making an effort and presentation, okay, you may look at it as like, yes, eat disorder habits, and you know, you should just eat the food in front of you. But at the same time, like, if you're gonna make effort with your food, down to the point where the presentation, how you cook it, it's going to really make a big difference. It really does. Oh, 100%.
I think that's more in off season. Actually, no, in prep, I like to make effort, but at the same time, I see it from a different perspective, because sometimes when I was busy in like hospital and I didn't have much time to actually make my meals look nice, or I did have to meal prep and put things in a Tupperware, it didn't look nice, but I did it because I did the job.
Oh yeah, with regards to that, sometimes, yeah, you know, we've gone out plenty of times and we've put cream of rice in the meal prep bag and we've come out and it's like a fucking soup, you know, and it's like bollocks.
I think that's a good one, but I don't necessarily agree.
But yeah, for me, make effort with your food. Like, for me, that's if I'm making effort with my food, I'm going to enjoy that more, and that's going to prevent me from not wanting shit, to be honest with you. That's how I sort of view it. We've got a bit of a disagreement. That's our first disagreement. Actually, maybe it's our second disagreement in this, but we can roll with that.
In this podcast, we've had plenty today.
Yeah, we've had 150 fucking million today. Last one from me is getting family and friends to understand how much I love and enjoy bodybuilding. So how did you...
Oh, this is a cute one.
How did you tell your parents about your bodybuilding and your desire to want to dive into the deep end with it? How do they feel?
Oh, my story is obviously like a little bit different to most people, because I actually ended up in rehab before I got into bodybuilding. So I had a really poor relationship, obviously, with myself, food, etc. And just before that, it was actually like lockdown-ish times, or I started pre-lockdown, and then we went into lockdown. I went to rehab, standard procedure, and then as you do, I came out and I got more so into training, but my parents saw a huge shift in me, because before I used to see training as a chore and as a way to punish myself, whereas this time it was bringing me so much joy and happiness, and it was like a pure like love, and I was coming out and I was really nice to them as a person. Like they saw how happy it made me. So I wasn't going to the gym thinking, fucking hell, I need to go to the gym, or like I was meal prepping my food and I was looking at the food, I'd be like, oh, I wish I had that. Because if I'm portraying my relationship with bodybuilding as something that's almost forced upon me, and I'm lashing out at people because of the things I have to do, because I'm dieting, I'm hungry, and I'm suddenly becoming really horrible to people, I was never like that. They saw me and I was like, look guys, and I'm so proud because I did this lift. And I always told them, like, I'm not doing this because I have to, I'm doing this because I want to, like, I get to do this. Like, how you speak about bodybuilding and how you present yourself as a bodybuilder to other people is either going to really inspire them and make them happy for you, or it's simply going to make them feel like, oh my god, they're getting like really, really shredded or skinny, as they usually say. Oh, you're looking so skinny. Mum called me skinny. Yeah, she called you skinny, didn't she? And then, you know, you saying, oh, can't do this, I can't go out with you tonight because I'm going to the gym. Like, how you speak is truly the way, how you speak and present yourself is truly the way that they're going to receive it. Yeah. So I think for me, they just saw genuinely like how bubbly I was and how productive in my life I was. Obviously, it didn't just stand down to bodybuilding, but I would see that as a form of my well-being and my therapy. And they just, you know, they saw that as, because they were initially very worried about me, because they thought, oh, she's jumping into another extreme of things, it's going to cause her a lot of trouble. But then they actually just saw, oh, she's flourishing here, and that's really nice to see.
When I think about this question, thought back to my 2019 prep. where my mum was really worried about me. She was telling me how skinny I was getting. She wasn't liking how I was restricting myself, and
But you were a dickhead as well to them.
I was, yeah. I must admit, I was very push away my parents.
That actually confirms what I just said.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So big one for me was actually, I'm a very independent person, like very independent. And what I decided to do when I was competing is actually invite my parents to my first show. I actually invited them to come and watch me on stage. And after that, they understood bodybuilding well, they told me this anyway. They understood bodybuilding way more by coming to a show, being in that environment, being around people in little thongs and shit tans. They understood it way more, and I was like, yeah, okay, we understand what you're doing now, and they become way more accepting of it. My mum still never understands about me eating 5 meals a day, and always
she doesn't.
She just doesn't. She'll
You're
never.
eating again.
Yeah, she'll never understand that, and that's fine. But she understands. Well, she's supportive of me doing it regardless, and at the end of the day, I'm going to do it. So
great.
Yeah,
I think we're both very lucky in terms of our parents actually do support. And my dad is a professional sportsman, so I've grown up around him meal prepping. So I think that's been quite normal for my family. They've obviously not really been into bodybuilding. I think having a little girl that now wants to pack on loads of muscle, especially in an Eastern European family, can sometimes be a little bit weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, I just tell them all the reasons of what bodybuilding does for me rather than how it takes away from me. Does that make sense? So I think that's one. But then sometimes they just won't get it. Sometimes they just won't understand. And sometimes, no matter how much George might explain to me his viewpoint on some things, I'm just going to be like, I just don't get it. And that's okay. Not everyone's meant to get it. And sometimes actually forcing your family to understand and to support you takes away more from you than what it's needed. Like, if someone just doesn't understand it, you don't need to get them involved in it. Would it be nice for them to be involved in your journey? Yeah, absolutely. But I'm sure there are plenty of other people within your circle, or people that you can meet within bodybuilding, or us too, supporting you from afar. Like, even if we can drop us a message, like, I don't have any support, we'll comment on your picture or something, just being like, yeah, go on, like, you're doing really well in prep. There's so many other people that can like support you within this sort of journey. And if your parents don't get it, that's fine. They're not living your life. You are.
Final one from me is that I've not been put on this planet to please everyone. I've not. I ain't gonna please everyone.
Just
I don't
me.
want to please. Yeah, just Vicky and the dogs. Just Vicky and the dogs. So remind yourself. Lastly, you're not here to please everyone. Do what you want to do. Fuck the rest of them.
Yeah, you don't need to explain yourself.
Exactly. I really hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Lots of love. See you guys in the next one.